Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're looking at the murder of Tammy Terrell. Tammy Corrine Terrell, born July 4th, 1963, disappeared September 28th, 1980, from Roswell, New Mexico, died October 4th, 1980, age 17, in Henderson, Nevada. It says homicide by stabbing. Body discovered October 5th, 1980. Resting place, Clark County, Nevada. Other names, Arroyo, I don't know how to say it, Grande Jane Doe. Formerly unidentified victim of a homicide. 5'2". She was born July 4th, 1963, and died October 4th, 1980. She was an American murder victim from Roswell, New Mexico. Her body was discovered October 5th, 1980 in Henderson, Nevada, and remained unidentified until December 2021. Her case has been the subject of extensive efforts by investigators and has been highlighted as inspiring other work to solve cold cases of identified murder victims. And there's the name she was given prior to her identification. At approximately 9:20 p.m. October 5th, 1980, the nude body of a white adolescent or young woman between the ages of 13 and 25 years old, most likely 17 to 18 years old, was found with blunt force trauma, including multiple wounds to the back of the head believed to be from a roofing hammer or a framing hammer. And there was that one guy that's supposed to be a serial killer in Nevada. I don't know if he was there at the time, but his name was, what was it, Tommy Lynn Sells, Sells. And I believe he did some roofing work. So it makes me think of him. And I don't know what years he was killing people, but I do remember that he had done some roofing work. She had signs of injury to the face and 7 puncture-type stab wounds on the upper left area of her back. One of her lower teeth had been knocked out in the attack. Her body was found just south of State Route 146 near the Arroyo Grande Wash, where the I-215 beltway is currently. She had been placed in a position described as posed, basically, and was face down. Who used to pose their victims? That was the Green River Killer used to pose his victims and leave them naked, didn't he? Yeah, he did. And now I'm thinking of the Green River Killer. I wonder if I don't know, that's weird. I wonder if the two ever met or anything. The body was discovered by 2 brothers who were driving on a dirt road, one of whom was an off-duty police officer. Yeah, the Green River Killer used to pose his victims, some of them, and leave them naked and pose. The cause of death was identified as unknown, an unknown 2-pronged instrument with prongs around 3 inches long that was used to stab the victim. The body appeared to have been washed, and a piece of yellow or orange shower curtain was nearby. Her hair was a natural brownish blonde, red, or strawberry blonde color at shoulder length, about 11 inches long. She was around 5'2", and she weighed about 100 to 110 pounds. She still had, and I'm just skimming through this, and some of it's not exactly what it says, but you can read it. She was around 5'2", tall, weighed between, she still had her wisdom teeth, which were impacted, and had a visible gap between her 2 upper right teeth, possibly occurring post-mortem. There is also the possibility she had fractured her jaw in the past. She had pierced, I wonder if that happened from being hit and killed. She had pierced ears, and her nails were painted silver. The victim had dental fillings in some of her teeth, showing that she had seen a dentist. Her eyes were hazel or blue. Some sources say green, and she had a small, crude, apparent amateur tattoo of an S on the inside of her right forearm made with blue ink. The tattoo appeared to have been inked not long before she died. See, and that makes me wonder if, I don't know. She had a vaccination scar on her left bicep. It was determined that she had probably died the day before her body was discovered. The victim also had undergone an unusual suture procedure to straighten one of her teeth, which led investigators to believe she was not impoverished. The police officer who discovered her body donated money for burial of the body. That is very kind-hearted. Regularly visits the burial site with his wife and leaves flowers in her memory. That had to have been a horror. You think it's a police officer's job to go around and find people who are dead and solve crimes, but that, that had to be a horrific experience. It had to be. And how do you deal with such a thing? Investigators made extensive efforts to try to identify the body of the young woman. The victim's fingerprints were taken and her dental characteristics were recorded but could not be matched to anyone. Eventually, the victim's DNA profile was developed by the University of North Texas and was entered into national databases, which failed to turn up her identity. Now, you imagine we didn't have DNA at one time. So these serial killers, they're thinking that they're never going to be caught. That, if after so many years go by, they never even considered DNA because it didn't exist. So here they're thinking, oh, they're never going to get caught. But then we have the DNA, lo and behold, so these people are getting caught. Several television shows, and they're being able to identify these remains. Several television shows broadcast information about the case in the hope of generating leads, none of which led to her identification or the apprehension of her killer or killers. Forensic facial reconstructions were created to provide a likeness of the Jane Doe, which were hoped to enable recognition by those that may have known her. The body, and some people may say, oh, they see the reconstructions and they don't think it looks like them. But these people are doing the best that they can and they're trying really hard. And sometimes they look similar, and some of the parts they have, you may not know exactly how to do certain parts. But some of them look so well and they do such a good job and they work so hard. And I think that we should stop and we should pray for them and we should recognize their hard work and what a wonderful job that they do and how much they contribute and what a blessing they are. The body has been exhumed at least 4 times for further investigation: in 2002, 2003, 2009, and 2016. In 2003, her body was exhumed after authorities followed clues to a missing girl from California who was eventually ruled out by DNA analysis. 20 missing people were excluded as potential identities for the victims. So then we also have these people who are going around trying to compare the DNA and spend all these tedious hours trying to compare the DNA, trying to find out who this is. So these cases, they touch so many people's lives, so many people who they want to help these people. They want to help them have closure, and it means a lot to them. The former coroner for Clark County, when the victim's body was found, has worked with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, to help with the case. In a video released in October 2015, he said someone is missing their little girl. Someone knows who she is. Someone needs to come forward and help us, saying that he hoped the reconstructions created the victim would trigger recognition. He said this victim's case was, I don't know how to say that word, it escapes me right now. Anyway, for the local department to develop a cold case unit for its unsolved cases. She is the case that started it all for us, he said. The officer who found the body described similar feelings about the case. In 2015, the case was officially reopened by investigators. On October 5, 2015, the 35th anniversary of her discovery, NCMEC released two new reconstructions, one frontal view of the face and the other as the profile. The new image replaced a version that the organization had created. An array of 4 unidentified young females whose faces have been forensically reconstructed, all of whom have since been identified. Tammy Terrell is depicted second to the left. On December 2nd, 2021, the Henderson Police Department announced that the Jane Doe had been identified as 17-year-old Tammy Corrine Terrell from Roswell, New Mexico. She was identified through forensic genealogy in an effort supervised by Barbara Ray Venter, a genetic genealogist who also took part in the identification of the Golden State Killer in 2018. DNA samples from her two sisters were used to positively identify her. Terrell, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, was last seen on September 28, 1980, when she was dropped off at the Roswell State Fair. Later that night, she was seen at a restaurant in Roswell with a white man and a woman, possibly planning to head for California. So it might have been people she met at the fair. It might have been people that worked at the carnival, or that, I don't know. The investigation into her murder is ongoing. That is just horrific. If you have any information, please contact authorities. Because, yeah, they've identified her remains, but they haven't yet found her killer or killers. I don't know if it was the man or the woman or both of them. I don't know if it was even related to them. Maybe they met her. Maybe they knew something. Anyway, if you have any information, please contact the authorities and please come forward with that information. And don't forget to pray for her loved ones and her family. And thank you so much for tuning in. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.